The Meridian Collective's High Commissioner Vex stretched his crystalline appendages as he studied the holographic display of Earth's solar system. His faceted eyes reflected the soft blue glow of 1,000 data points, each confirming what the collective had long assumed. The humans were centuries behind in technological development. Another primitive species playing at spaceflight, Vex announced to his council chamber. The assembled representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilization murmured in agreement, their crystalline bodies chiming softly in the vast chamber. They haven't even cracked basic quantum folding. Their vessels still rely on primitive fusion drives. The annual assessment of developing species was usually a tedious affair, but Earth had caught the collective's attention. Despite their apparent technological limitations, humans had been expanding their presence in their solar system with remarkable speed. Mining operations on Mars, research stations on Europa, and even preliminary colonies on Titan, all achieved with what the collective considered obsolete technology. "Perhaps we should establish contact," suggested Second Commissioner Lyra, her violet crystal structure pulsing with interest. Their resourcefulness could make them useful servants, given proper guidance. Vex was about to respond when every sensor in the chamber suddenly screamed to life. The holographic display flickered, showing impossible readings. Where there had been empty space at the edge of their territory, something massive had just appeared. The vessel that materialized was unlike anything the collective had ever encountered. It was massive, easily dwarfing their largest ships, yet it had somehow approached undetected. Its hull seemed to be made of perfectly smooth obsidian, but as they watched, patterns of iridescent light rippled across its surface like oil on water. "Impossible," Vex whispered. "Our quantum detection grid is perfect. Nothing could have." "Incoming transmission," announced the chamber's eye. "Origin, United Earth Fleet Vessel Aurora." The holographic display shifted, and a human female appeared. She wore a simple dark uniform with silver trim, her graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. Captain Elena Santos of the UEF Aurora smiled pleasantly, as if she were greeting old friends rather than making first contact with one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. "Greetings, High Commissioner Vex," she said, her voice calm and measured. "I apologize for arriving unannounced, but we thought it was time to introduce ourselves properly." Vex's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained alarm. "How did you? Our surveillance showed no signs of this level of technology. Your species was using chemical rockets mere decades ago." "Oh, those." Captain Santos's smile widened slightly. "Well, there's an old Earth saying, the best place to hide a tree is in a forest. We simply made sure all our visible technology matched your expectations while we developed something a bit more interesting." As if on cue, the Aurora's hull rippled, and the iridescent patterns intensified. The collective sensors tried desperately to analyze the phenomenon but returned only confusion. The ship's hull wasn't just blocking their scans, it was actively refusing to interact with them in any way that made sense. "You see," Santos continued, "while you were watching us fumble with fusion drives, we were actually studying something far more fundamental, the relationship between consciousness and quantum mechanics. Turns out, the universe behaves quite differently when you account for the observer effect on a massive scale." The implications hit Vex like a gravitational wave. The humans hadn't just developed advanced technology. They'd taken an entirely different path of scientific development. While the collective had mastered the manipulation of quantum states, humans had somehow learned to manipulate the very nature of observation and reality itself. "Your entire species maintained this deception?" Vex managed to ask, his crystalline form shifting colors in distress. "We had good teachers, our own history," Santos replied. "Every time a technologically advanced civilization encountered a less developed one on Earth, it rarely ended well for the latter. So when we detected your first probes at the edge of our solar system 30 years ago, we decided to learn from those lessons. We showed you exactly what you expected to see while working on something completely unexpected." The Aurora's hull rippled again, and suddenly the massive ship was both there and not there, existing in a state that made the collective's quantum computers suffer the equivalent of a migraine trying to process it. "Now then," Santos said, her expression growing more serious, "let's discuss the future of human collective relations. We believe we have much to offer each other, provided we can establish some ground rules about mutual respect and sovereignty." Vex looked around his council chamber, seeing his own shock reflected in the shifting colors of his fellow commissioners. In a single moment, everything they thought they knew about humanity, and perhaps about the nature of technological development itself, had been completely upended. The humans hadn't just caught up to them. They'd taken an entirely different path to the stars, one that the collective, in their rush to master quantum mechanics, had never even considered. And now they had no choice but to wonder, what else had they missed in their assumption of superiority? "We would be interested in such discussions," Vex finally responded, his color shifting to the diplomatic purple of formal negotiations. As he spoke, he couldn't help but notice that Captain Santos's smile had returned, not triumphant or mocking, but genuinely pleased. Perhaps, he realized, that was the most unsettling thing of all. The humans had achieved this overwhelming technological advantage, and they still seemed more interested in talking than conquering. The age of certainty, as the collective had called their era of undisputed technological supremacy, had just ended. The age of understanding, it seemed, was about to begin. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the hidden chamber beneath Europa's ice, watching the quantum consciousness matrix pulse with ethereal light. The facility's existence was humanity's best-kept secret. While the public research station above studied basic ice samples, the real breakthroughs were happening a kilometer below. Record log continuation. Project Echo. She spoke into her neural interface. Year 2157, day 285. The deception continues to hold. Latest Meridian probe passed within 500 meters of our surface facility yesterday. Their quantum sensors registered exactly what we wanted them to see: simple fusion reactors and primitive computer systems. She approached the matrix, where patterns of light danced in response to her presence. This was humanity's greatest achievement, technology that didn't just manipulate quantum states, but actually worked with the fundamental consciousness-reality interface that underpinned the universe itself. "They're still looking for quantum signatures," Maya continued, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "They can't find what they're not looking for. While they search for conventional quantum manipulation, our consciousness-based technology remains completely invisible to their sensors. It's like trying to detect radio waves with a thermometer." The memory of how they'd reached this point still brought a smile to her face. 28 years ago, when humanity first detected the Meridian probe at the edge of the solar system, panic had merely set in. The probe's technology was centuries ahead of anything Earth possessed, or so it had seemed. But then Dr. James Chen had made his breakthrough. While studying quantum entanglement, he'd discovered something extraordinary. Consciousness itself played a role in quantum phenomena far deeper than anyone had imagined. The observer effect wasn't just a quirk of quantum mechanics. It was a fundamental property of reality that could be harnessed. "Pull up archive file 147, Maya commanded. A holographic display materialized, showing footage from the early days. Hundreds of researchers, working in secret facilities across the solar system, all focused on developing technology that worked with consciousness rather than against it. The Meridians, like most advanced species, had mastered quantum manipulation through brute force, using massive energy expenditures to control quantum states. Humanity had found a different path, learning to work with the natural consciousness quantum interface that existed in all living things. "Show me the Aurora's latest metrics," she requested. The display shifted, showing the massive vessel that had just revealed itself to the Meridian Collective. Its hull wasn't made of conventional materials at all. It was a crystallized form of consciousness itself, capable of altering its own relationship with reality. The ship didn't need to fight against quantum uncertainty. It embraced it, becoming one with the probabilistic nature of the universe. Dr. Patel. A voice called from the communication array. Captain Santos has made contact with the Meridian High Council. Phase 1 is complete. Maya nodded, her expression serious. Begin Phase 2 preparations. It's time to show them what else we've been working on. She turned to face the massive chamber behind her, where rows of new vessels were taking shape. Unlike conventional construction, these ships were being grown. Consciousness-responsive crystals forming into shapes that defied traditional physics. Each one represented a different application of humanity's revolutionary understanding of the universe. They thought our slow technological progress meant we were primitive, Maya mused, watching the ships grow. They never considered that we might be taking our time because we were doing something fundamentally different. The quantum consciousness matrix pulsed again, responding to her thoughts. This was humanity's true strength, not the ability to overpower nature's laws, but to understand them so deeply that they became partners rather than obstacles. A holographic notification appeared, showing reports from across the solar system. All the hidden facilities were beginning to power up their matrices, preparing for the next phase of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. What the Meridians had seen so far was just the beginning. You know what the really ironic part is. Maya spoke to her assistant AI. We couldn't have achieved this without their surveillance. Watching their quantum technology gave us the insight we needed to realize there had to be a better way. Their very presence pushed us to look deeper, to find paths they'd never considered. She pulled up another display, showing the reactions from various Meridian observation posts as they tried to make sense of the Aurora's impossible capabilities. Their sensors were detecting contradictions, quantum states that shouldn't exist, reality itself seeming to bend around the human vessel. Begin consciousness sync with all Phase 2 vessels, Maya commanded. The chamber hummed with energy as the growing ships began to resonate with the quantum consciousness matrix. It's time to show the galaxy that there's more than one path to the stars. As she watched the ships take form, Maya reflected on humanity's journey to this point. They had turned their greatest weakness, their technological inferiority, into their greatest strength. By being forced to think differently, to find another way, they had discovered something far more powerful than conventional quantum technology. The next few days would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The age of understanding wouldn't just be about sharing technology. It would be about sharing entirely new ways of thinking about the universe itself. And humanity, the supposedly primitive species, would be leading the way. After all, Maya said, smiling at the growing fleet before her, sometimes the best way to advance isn't to follow in someone else's footsteps, but to find your own path entirely. High Commissioner Vex paced the secure chamber of the Meridian Defense Council, his crystalline form shifting through shades of deep red and purple. The quantum displays surrounding him showed a scene that should have been impossible. 3 more human vessels had appeared throughout Meridian space, each as inexplicable as the Aurora. Deploy the quantum lock fleet, First Admiral Xenix commanded, her crystalline form pulsing with determination. If we can't scan them, we'll trap them. No vessel can move when caught in a quantum probability freeze. The pride of the Meridian fleet, 7 massive warships equipped with their most advanced quantum technology, moved into position around the nearest human vessel, the UEF Hyperion. The warships began generating their quantum lock field, a technology that had subdued countless hostile species by freezing probability itself. Nothing happened. The Hyperion's hull rippled with those same mysterious patterns they'd seen on the Aurora, and then the ship simply shifted. Not moved, not jumped. It existed in one position, then existed in another, without ever appearing to traverse the space between. Impossible. Xenix's form fractured slightly in distress. The quantum lock is perfect. They can't just ignore it. We're not ignoring it. A new voice announced as a communication channel opened. The human on the screen was younger than Captain Santos, with dark skin and eyes that seemed to dance with amusement. Captain Marcus Chen of the Hyperion. Your quantum lock is fascinating technology, by the way. Very elegant approach to probability manipulation. But you're trying to freeze something that isn't moving in the first place. Vex's confusion radiated through his crystal structure. What do you mean, isn't moving? We all saw your vessel shift position. Did we? Chen smiled. Or did you observe us in two different positions and assume movement occurred between those observations? Quantum mechanics gets really interesting when you start questioning basic assumptions about space, time, and consciousness. Before Vex could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The other human vessels were moving, or perhaps not moving, but changing positions in that same impossible way. More disturbing still, the Meridian's quantum sensors were reporting that each human ship existed in multiple states simultaneously. Full deployment, Xenix ordered. All available ships, converge on. I wouldn't, Chen interrupted calmly. Look at your quantum probability monitors. Vex turned to the displays and felt his crystalline form grow cold. The space around every Meridian vessel was showing impossible readings, probability curves that suggested every quantum state in 1,000 light-year radius was somehow entangled with human consciousness. While you were focusing on our ships, Chen explained, we were having a lovely conversation with reality itself. Right now, the quantum state of your entire fleet is, let's say, intimately connected with our consciousness matrix. One wrong move, and we might accidentally collapse the probability wave in an unfortunate way. From another screen, Captain Santos of the Aurora joined the conversation. We don't want conflict, High Commissioner, but we need you to understand that your usual methods of coercion and control won't work here. We're not operating on the same fundamental principles you are. Vex watched in growing horror as his flagship's quantum core, the most advanced piece of technology in the Meridian arsenal, began responding to human consciousness patterns. They hadn't hacked it or overpowered it. They were simply talking to it in a language that transcended conventional physics. How? He finally managed to ask. How did you develop this level of control over quantum consciousness interaction? We had good teachers, Chen replied. Earth's indigenous cultures, who understood the connection between consciousness and reality long before we had the technology to measure it. Ancient philosophers who questioned the nature of observation and reality. And most importantly, we had time. While you were rushing to master quantum manipulation through force, we were learning to listen to the universe itself. Another alarm sounded, more human ships appearing. But these were different. Smaller vessels, some barely larger than shuttles, each displaying the same impossible properties as their larger counterparts. The Meridian sensors tried to count them and failed. The ships seemed to exist in a superposition of numbers, simultaneously one and many. These are our civilian ships, Santos explained. Research vessels, mostly. Scientists eager to share what we've learned about consciousness-based quantum technology. We're hoping your scientists might be interested in collaboration rather than competition. Vex looked at Xenix, seeing his own realization mirrored in her crystalline structure. The humans hadn't just developed better technology. They'd discovered an entirely new relationship with reality itself. And now they were offering to share that knowledge, even after the Meridians had dismissed them as primitives. Stand down all vessels, Vex commanded, his tone carrying the weight of centuries of authority. Send word throughout the collective. The humans are to be recognized as. He paused, searching for the right words. As teachers we didn't know we needed. The quantum probability fields surrounding the Meridian fleet gradually dissipated. As they did, the human vessels settled into more conventional states of existence, though their hulls still rippled with those mysterious patterns of consciousness quantum interaction. A wise choice, Santos said warmly. Now shall we discuss how to move forward together? We have so much to learn from each other. As the human and Meridian leaders began their first real dialogue, Vex couldn't help but wonder what other surprises humanity had in store. They had already revolutionized the collective's understanding of quantum physics, consciousness, and reality itself. And somehow, He suspected they were just getting started. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from 100 spacefaring civilizations argued in their native tongues as the latest footage from Meridian space played on the quantum displays. The images of human vessels defying fundamental laws of physics had shaken the very foundation of their understanding of technological progress. Ambassador Lazara of the Silicon Concordat, an ancient machine civilization, stood motionless as she processed the data. Her crystalline neural network struggled to comprehend how a species barely out of their planetary cradle had achieved something that eluded even her people's million-year-old civilization. "The implications are staggering," she broadcast to the assembly, her artificial voice cutting through the chaos. "The humans haven't just developed new technology. They've discovered an entirely new paradigm of interaction with reality itself." The holographic displays shifted to show the latest data from the scientific exchange between human and Meridian researchers. The humans had opened several of their research facilities to foreign observers, though many found the demonstrations more confusing than enlightening. "They're not using conventional quantum manipulation at all," explained Dr. Sarah Chen, the human representative, and sister of the Hyperion's captain. "We're not forcing quantum states to behave as we want. We're participating in a dialogue with quantum consciousness itself." The assembly erupted again as translators conveyed her words. The hive mind of the Zextal swarm buzzed with agitation, their collective consciousness struggling to process this new approach to reality. The crystalline meridians present shifted through colors of confusion and wonder. "But this defies all known models of technological progression," protested Ambassador Krell of the Void Hegemony, his dark matter form rippling with distress. "Species master fire, then metals, then atomic energy, then quantum mechanics. This is the natural order." Dr. Chen smiled. "Is it? Or is that just the path that seemed most obvious? While the galaxy raced toward quantum manipulation through force, humanity took a step back. We asked different questions. What if consciousness isn't just an observer of quantum phenomena? What if it's an intrinsic part of how reality functions?" The displays showed footage from one of the human research facilities on Europa. A group of human scientists sat in meditation around what appeared to be a living crystal matrix, their consciousness somehow interacting directly with quantum probability fields. "Your civilizations mastered quantum technology," Chen continued. "We learned to cooperate with it. The universe isn't just a set of laws to be dominated. It's a partner in exploration and discovery." Ambassador Lissara's neural network finally reached a conclusion that sent shockwaves through her silicon matrix. "You're saying that all our quantum technology, everything we've built over millennia, we've been doing it the hard way." "Not wrong," Chen corrected gently. "Just different. Your approach has its own advantages. But yes, there are easier ways to achieve what you've been forcing through massive energy expenditure and complex machinery." The assembly fell silent as the implications sank in. Centuries of assumed superiority over primitive species began to crumble. The technological hierarchy that had defined galactic politics for millennia was being rewritten. "We're not here to replace your technology or upend your societies," Chen assured them. "We're here to share a different perspective. Imagine combining your mastery of conventional quantum mechanics with our understanding of consciousness quantum interaction. Think of what we could achieve together." The hive mind of the Zextal was the first to respond, their collective consciousness resonating with possibility. "Our species has always known there was a deeper connection between mind and reality. We simply never had the framework to explore it scientifically." One by one, representatives began to voice their interest in collaboration. The Silicon Concordat offered their vast computational networks to help model consciousness quantum interactions. The Void Hegemony proposed combining their dark matter manipulation with human consciousness technology. "There will be challenges," Chen acknowledged. "Some of our techniques require a complete rethinking of established scientific principles. But we've already begun developing teaching methods that bridge the gap between conventional quantum physics and consciousness-based approaches." The displays showed new footage, human instructors working with alien scientists, teaching them to perceive and interact with quantum fields through consciousness rather than technology. Some were struggling, centuries of technological dependence making it difficult to embrace this new approach. Others were advancing quickly, especially species with strong traditions of meditation or collective consciousness. As the assembly debated the implications and possibilities, Ambassador Lazara approached Dr. Chen privately. "Your species could have dominated the galaxy with this technology," she observed. "Why reveal it like this? Why share it freely?" Chen's response was thoughtful, because the very understanding that led to this technology taught us something crucial. We're all connected, not just through politics or trade, but through the fundamental fabric of consciousness and reality itself. Keeping this discovery to ourselves would have gone against everything we learned while developing it. The assembly chambers hummed with new energy as ancient rivals began discussing collaboration, as species that had looked down on primitives started to question their assumptions, as the very nature of galactic civilization began to shift. The age of understanding was truly beginning, and with it, the promise of discoveries that none of them could achieve alone. 5 years after humanity's dramatic revelation to the galaxy, the Europa Research Center had transformed. What was once a secret facility now hosted scientists from dozens of species, all working together to explore the boundaries between consciousness and reality. In the main observation chamber, Dr. Maya Patel stood beside High Commissioner Vex, watching their latest project take shape. The massive quantum consciousness matrix at the center of the chamber wasn't just a human creation anymore. Crystalline structures contributed by the meridians merged seamlessly with silicon neural networks from the Concordat, while dark matter conduits from the void hegemony pulsed with strange energy. At its heart, human consciousness researchers worked in harmony with the collective mind of the Zextal swarm. "Did you ever imagine this 5 years ago?" Maya asked, gesturing to the unprecedented collaboration before them. "That we'd be here, working together like this." Vex's crystalline form shimmered with what Maya had learned to recognize as wry amusement. "I had many imagined scenarios involving humans, Dr. Patel. None of them involved teaching my people to meditate." The joke wasn't just humorous. It reflected a profound change in galactic civilization. The Meridians, once proud of their technological superiority, now sent their brightest minds to learn consciousness quantum interaction techniques from human instructors. Their crystalline bodies, it turned out, were particularly well suited to these practices once they overcame their preconceptions. "We're ready to begin the test," announced Dr. Cora, a silicon-based scientist from the Concordat. The project they were attempting today would have been considered impossible just a few years ago. A controlled consciousness quantum tunnel connecting 2 points in space-time, through pure thought and understanding. The assembled scientists, human and alien alike, joined their consciousness into the matrix. The air seemed to vibrate with possibility as different approaches to quantum mechanics merged and synchronized. Traditional technology worked alongside consciousness-based techniques in perfect harmony. Connection established, the Zextal hive mind announced, their collective consciousness integrating seamlessly with the human researchers. Quantum consciousness resonance at optimal levels. The space in the center of the chamber began to fold, not through technological force, but through the combined understanding of dozens of species working in concert with the fundamental nature of reality itself. A tunnel of pure possibility opened, connecting their chamber to another facility light years away. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Maya said softly. "Not just the tunnel, but what it represents. Every species contributed something unique to make this possible. Human consciousness techniques, meridian crystal technology, Concordat computational models, Zextal collective consciousness integration, void hegemony, dark matter manipulation. A metaphor for our future," Vex agreed. "No species alone could have achieved this. It took all of us, learning from each other, challenging our assumptions, finding new ways to understand the universe." Through the quantum consciousness tunnel, they could see their counterparts at the other facility. another diverse group of humans and aliens working together. The tunnel wasn't just stable, it was more efficient than any previous method of faster-than-light travel, requiring minimal energy and leaving no disturbance in the fabric of space-time. You know what the most remarkable thing is? Maya mused as they watched the tunnel shimmer with possibility. 5 years ago, most species saw technological advancement as a linear path, primitive to advanced, simple to complex, each step predetermined. Now look at us. We're discovering new paths every day, possibilities no one ever imagined. The chamber's quantum displays showed readings from across the galaxy. Everywhere, similar collaborations were yielding extraordinary results. Species once considered primitive were offering insights that revolutionized the understanding of consciousness quantum interaction. Ancient civilizations were rediscovering aspects of reality they'd overlooked in their rush toward conventional technological advancement. The Age of Understanding, Vex said, using the term that had become common across the galaxy. Though perhaps we should call it the Age of Questions instead. Every answer we find leads to new mysteries, new possibilities to explore together. As if to emphasize his point, the quantum consciousness tunnel suddenly displayed an unexpected pattern, a new form of interaction between consciousness and reality that none of them had predicted. Instead of concern, the observation was met with excitement from all species present. New discoveries were no longer seen as challenges to existing knowledge, but as opportunities for greater understanding. Humanity's greatest contribution wasn't the technology itself, Maya reflected. It was showing the galaxy that there's always another way to look at things, always another path to explore. The moment we all accepted that we had something to learn from each other, everything changed. The tunnel pulsed with the combined consciousness of dozens of species working in harmony, each bringing their unique perspective to their shared exploration of reality's deepest mysteries. In research centers across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Ancient rivals working together, primitive and advanced species learning from each other, boundaries of knowledge and understanding expanding in ways no one had imagined possible. The universe, they were discovering, had far more to teach them than any single species could learn alone. And that, perhaps, was the greatest understanding of all.